Fired for bringing her child to work? Then came a new boss and everything turned insane. In a small, ordinary office on the edge of the city, chaos erupted one unassuming Tuesday morning. The hum of fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, and the scent of stale coffee filled the air. But this day was anything but normal. Jamie, a single mother, had been juggling spreadsheets and her toddler, Ella, since dawn. She didn't think twice when she brought her to work, but her laughter echoed too loudly, drawing the piercing eyes of coworkers appalled. In what felt like a scene out of a surreal nightmare, Jamie found herself in front of the grim-faced HR manager, fighting back tears as she was handed a pink slip. The whispers started as soon as the door closed. Did she really think it was okay to bring a child here? What was she thinking? They viewed her as a wild card, an unpredictable force who dared to break the office norm. Yet, one fact loomed larger than the rest: her dismissal was merely the first act in a twisted play. The next week, a new boss arrived, Max Tall, with an unsettling presence and a reputation that sent shivers down spines. He didn't waste time. First thing, he called a meeting and announced, "This is a no-limits zone. We're here to disrupt, rethink, and innovate." Eyes widened, hearts raced. This was a company where creativity thrived, but it suddenly felt like stepping into a dark rabbit hole. His ideas brimmed with chaos. Casual dress codes were thrown out, weird team-building workshops were introduced, and the hours grew longer. But beneath this crackdown on corporate misery lay an eerie vibe that didn't sit right with the team. They began to notice things. Strange symbols etched into the walls, conversations held in hushed tones, and a series of abrupt employee exits. People murmured about shadows lurking in the corners of the building, laughter that echoed too late at night, and a sense of being watched. Jamie felt her skin crawl every time she entered the office. Everyone was on edge once. While rifling through office supplies, Jamie stumbled upon an ancient-looking key hidden under a stack of dusty books. It glimmered strangely under the fluorescent lights. She felt drawn to it, like a moth to a flame. What did it unlock? And why was it hidden? She clutched it tightly, her heartbeat drumming a warning. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the days unfolded, Jamie couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the edge of something bigger than office politics, almost like a storm brewing just beyond the clouds. Tensions surged. One night, she overheard Max arguing with someone in the restricted section of the building, his voice rising in anger, words like "watch them closely" slipping into her ears. What was happening? What secrets were they hiding? And why was she suddenly at the center of it all? With the key heavy in her pocket and a terror gripping her heart, Jamie looked around at her coworkers, their faces shadows of uncertainty. Would they uncover what lay beneath the surface, or would they get swallowed by the madness? The answer drifted just out of reach, like the flicker of a candle in the dark, unraveling any moment. The days turned into a blur for Jamie, a sluggish haze of anxiety and dread enveloping the office like a thick fog. Each morning, she walked in with the key nestled in her pocket, a constant reminder of the mystery it held. The disconnect among her coworkers grew palpable, a tense undercurrent that whispered secrets too dangerous to share. Jamie's heart raced at the slightest sound, each door creak or muted conversation heightening her awareness, making her feel like a hunted animal. One afternoon, she caught a glimpse of Max staring intensely at the office door, as if waiting for something or someone. His presence was magnetic, yet terrifying. Employees averted their eyes when he passed, whispers silenced in his wake. As the clock ticked towards closing time, Jamie stole glances at her coworkers, gauging their reactions. They were losing hope. Even Marianne, usually the office cheerleader, was quiet, her usual bright smile replaced by a tight-lipped frown. When Ella was with her, it somehow felt easier to breathe. The child's sporadic giggles broke the frost in the office, pushing back against the shadows. But every time Max caught sight of Ella, a strange look flickered in his eyes, something sharp, something hungry. Jamie's stomach turned at the thought and she kept tightly to her daughter's side, refusing to let her out of reach of that evening, Jamie stayed late to finalize some work. Alone now, she felt the building closing in around her. The air was thick with something unidentifiable. It was after hours, the staff long gone, when she heard its soft whispers echoing down the corridor from the restricted section. Her heartbeat surged as she glanced around, half expecting Max to appear. Instead, it felt like the building was alive. Upon hearing her name spoken in urgent tones, she froze. Jamie, she can't be allowed to find out. The words sent chills racing down her spine. Who were they talking about? With resolve hardening her bones, she crept toward the sound, skirted around desks, and pushed open the door to the restricted area. It creaked ominously, revealing a dark hallway stretching into shadows. The faint glow of a single bulb flickered at the end, illuminating strange symbols lining the walls, no longer just etched marks, but cryptic narratives etched in a language she couldn't comprehend. The whispers grew louder as she advanced, clawing at her sanity. She felt a presence, cold and prickly, like ice slithering down her spine. Peeking into a small room, her breath caught in her throat. There sat Max, his back to her, speaking fervently on the phone. "It's in motion. She has the key. We need to." Before she could even process the words, the phone clicked. He turned, and their eyes met. The look on his face was no longer enigmatic, it was brimming with something more dangerous, more sinister. "You shouldn't be here, Jamie," he warned, his voice low and threatening. Something twisted in her gut. The gravity of his words pulled her forward, the key suddenly vibrating against her thigh. "What's going on?" she demanded, her hands trembling. Max advanced, his tall figure casting a shadow that felt like a door closing. "You'll want to keep that to yourself. It's not safe. What does it unlock?" He stepped closer, lips stretching into a sinister smile that froze her blood. "Only the truth, and you might not like what you find." She backed away, heart pounding. The air thickened, charged with unsaid words that twisted in the dark. Clutching the key tightly, Jamie turned to flee, but the darkness loomed larger. A voice echoed in her mind. Was she prepared to uncover the truth? As she dashed for the door, Max called after her, a cold echo in the void. "You can't run from what you've found." Outside, she gasped for air, feeling the weight of the key in her palm. What had she stumbled upon? And what was Max capable of? As she clutched Ella close, the storm of uncertainty rolled over her, leaving only the question hanging in the air. What had she truly uncovered in that office? And was the worst yet to come? The chill of night settled heavily around Jamie as she stood shakily outside the building, her heart thudding frantically in her chest. Ella clung to her leg, blissfully unaware of the danger lurking in the shadows behind them. Jamie's mind raced, parsing through the fragments of Max's words, each syllable a raindrop creating ripples in the pond of her thoughts. The truth. What truth could possibly demand secrecy to such an alarming degree? She felt the urge to flee, but something in her gut urged her to stay put. Was that a whisper of courage or foolishness? As she looked down at Ella's innocent face, it wasn't just about her anymore. It was about keeping her daughter safe from whatever darkness was festering inside those office walls. "Mommy?" Ella asked, her voice soft, innocent. Just a little longer, sweetheart," Jamie whispered, forcing a smile even as her mind swirled with dread. Taking a deep breath, she glanced back at the building, the windows shrouded in an ominous darkness. Max could be right behind her, prowling in the shadows. The thought sent a jolt of panic through her. She needed to understand what was happening, to piece together this chaotic puzzle before it was too late. Maybe the key held the answers. "Let us just check it out again," she murmured, her resolve firming. "Stay close." She grasped Ella's hand tightly as they made their way back into the building. The hallway loomed before them, its oppressive silence hanging like a thick fog, curling around them as they approached the restricted area. Jamie felt every ounce of courage draining from her as she stepped inside, the eerily familiar air thick with the scent of dust and dread. "Mom?" Ella tugged at her arm, unease creeping into her voice. "Just a bit more, baby," Jamie reassured her, scanning the grim surroundings, searching for clues that might illuminate this nightmarish scenario. As they crept forward, the symbols on the walls seemed to pulse with a life of their own, glimmering with a subtle luminescence. They were like trapdoors beneath a darkened sky, promising hidden actions and secrets worth revealing. Dampened voices whispered through the thrum of quiet, echoing off the concrete corners. "Can you hear that?" Jamie asked, turning to Ella, who nodded, eyes wide. The promise of thrill tinged with fear electrified the air around them. With determination, Jamie pushed open the door to that same small room she had peeked into before, and her breath caught once more. It was empty, but the phone lay abandoned on the desk, a sinister echo of Max's earlier conversation still hanging in the air like dust motes caught in sunlight. Jamie approached the phone cautiously. Maybe she could uncover more about the truth he had hinted at. The device sat in stark contrast, so mundane yet teeming with the potential for ghastly revelations. Hesitating for only a moment, she reached for it. The instant her fingers met the cold metallic surface, a jolt surged through her, nearly sending her reeling back. "Look!" Ella squealed, pointing at the wall. Jamie spun around, heart racing. Was there movement in the shadows? A sudden crack of thunder roared outside, rattling the windows, followed by a flash of lightning that illuminated the space like a strobe. When the light faded, Jamie gasped. There stood Max, silhouetted in the doorway, his expression unreadable, yet sharp as a blade. "You shouldn't have come back," he growled, voice vibrating with tension. His words hung in the air, thickening the dark with foreboding. A chill raced up Jamie's spine. This was no longer just a matter of uncovering secrets, it was a fight for survival. "Stay behind me, Ella," she whispered, instinctual protective instincts roaring to life. But then, something shifted. A strange vibration emanated from the key Jamie held, pulsing in rhythm with her heart. Did it respond to danger? What did it really open? As she stood at the brink of chaos, an eerie notion dawned: the truth was imminent, bringing with it a potential reckoning. What did Max really want? And who could she trust when the walls were closing in? Just then, behind Max, she spotted shadowy figures creeping, their intentions unknown. Everything was about to unravel, and Jamie had to act fast. Max stepped inside, taking a predatory stance, eyes glinting with a fierce intensity that sent shivers racing down Jamie's back. The shadows behind him shifted, and the room felt closer, like a vice tightening. Jamie's heart sped up, matching the rhythm of the pulsing key she gripped tightly in her palm. "Max, please, I just want to understand," Jamie pleaded, her voice wavering, caught between fear and desperate resolve. He raised an eyebrow, an unsettling smirk curling at the corners of his mouth. "Understand? You're standing in a place where understanding is a luxury you can't afford." Ella shook next to her, sensing the malevolence in the air, and Jamie couldn't ignore the urge to shield her daughter from the impending storm. "We won't get in your way. Just let us leave." Max laughed, a cold sound that echoed through the room like a shattering glass. "Leave? You're already in deeper than you realize. There are things happening here that are far bigger than you." The shadows stirred again, revealing figures lurking at the edges, their faces obscured but their presence undeniable. The air felt thick, charged with tension, and Jamie's instincts screamed at her to run. But her feet wouldn't budge. It was as if the floor had turned to ice beneath them. "Mommy," Ella whispered, her tiny hands squeezing Jamie's. The innocence in her voice pulled at Jamie's heart, urging her to protect her at all costs. "Stay behind me, Ella," Jamie reiterated, the quiver in her voice betraying her bravery. She felt the weight of the key, a talisman of hope and fear all at once, urging her forward. Max stepped closer, his demeanor shifting to something more menacing. "You're about to find out what happens when you challenge what is hidden. Secrets have a way of revealing themselves, Jamie, often at the worst times." As he spoke, something caught Jamie's eye, a flicker of movement from the corner, an unsettling twitch among the shadowy figures. They were inching closer now, and panic clawed at her throat. "What do you want from us?" "From you?" he mocked, tilting his head slightly. "I don't want anything from you. But you are in the way of something much bigger. And it would be wise to understand that." Suddenly, the phone on the desk emitted a soft, ominous chime, breaking the electric tension in the air. Jamie's focus snapped back to it at once. There was something undeniably magnetic about that device, something profound buried in its silence. Max, I'm not afraid of you, but I need to know the truth. What's behind all this? Her voice rose, asserting her demand despite shaking limbs. The shadows behind Max drew closer, shrouded in a thick fog of uncertainty. Jamie felt corners of the earth shift, plunging her deeper into this tangled web of danger. Max's gaze flickered, and for a brief moment, she detected hesitation, a fissure in his ironclad facade. Play your cards right, and the truth might just save you. But just as he spoke, a deafening crash erupted outside, rattling the windows again. Jamie turned her head, alarmed, and that brief distraction made her miss the glint of something, an unmistakable weapon in Max's hand. Instinct kicked in. Run! She screamed at Ella, yanking her away just as the room exploded into chaos. A gunshot rang out, deafening and jarring, slamming into the wall beside them with a shower of concrete dust. Jamie dove to the floor, pulling Ella close against her. Adrenaline surged through her veins, and she'd never been more desperate to escape. Who could she trust? They scrambled back toward the doorway, hearts racing as chaos enveloped them. As they reached the door, Jamie spotted a flickering light deep within the shadows. What if it led to answers? But would stepping away from the door mean stepping further into danger? With the wall of darkness pulsating behind them, choices raced through her mind. One lock of courage screamed to break free and discover the truth. The other warned that discovery might shatter everything she held dear. As the sound of footsteps grew louder, her breath quickened. Would she risk it all for a flicker of hope? The next moment could change everything. Would they step into the shadows or flee back to safety? And what truth would reveal itself on the other side? Jamie's instincts fired on all cylinders as she pulled Ella back toward the doorway. Time felt elastic, warping around them while chaotic sounds spilled into the room, shouts, the crumbling of plaster, the low roar of a distant explosion. Every heartbeat echoed the terrifying urgency of their flight. Mommy, I'm scared. Ella's voice shattered Jamie's focus, a fragile reminder of what was truly at stake. Stay close, sweetie. Just trust me, Jamie whispered, trying to keep her voice steady. She could feel Ella's warm breath against her neck, but the weight of fear and uncertainty hung heavy in the air behind them. Max's chilling laughter pierced the chaos. Oh, you think you can escape? You're in my world now, and I decide what happens next. They reached the doorway, but Jamie hesitated. The flickering light in the shadows beckoned her like a siren, offering the promise of answers, perhaps even safety. But what if it was a trap? She knew too well that curiosity often led to danger. Mommy, the light. Ella tugged on her shirt, wide-eyed. Go! Jamie shouted, her voice snapping like a whip. She shoved Ella through the narrow opening first, a brave push against the uncertainty that loomed behind them. As they stumbled out into the corridor, the flickering light grew brighter, casting eerie silhouettes on the walls. Jamie had no idea where it led, but the sound of footsteps pounding behind them forced her onward. They had no choice but to run, deeper into the shadows. The corridor twisted and turned, each bend revealing more of the darkness that hung heavy around them. Jamie clutched the key in her pocket, her only uncertainty and hope at that moment. She thought of what Max said, there are things happening here that are far bigger than you. What could that even mean? Mommy! Ella's terrified cry broke through Jamie's racing thoughts. She turned just in time to see a shadow dart past them, something or someone moving faster than her eyes could register. She froze briefly, heart pounding, droplets of cold sweat gathering at the nape of her neck. Come on, Ella. Keep moving. Jamie urged, and they pushed forward, turning down another hall, each footfall resonating ominously against the concrete. But the light, that guiding flicker, was dimming, and Jamie's heart dropped. What if it was a mirage, fading away just when they needed it most? Panic clawed at her throat. Mommy, what is happening? Ella's voice trembled, and a swell of guilt crashed over Jamie. She had dragged her daughter into this chaos, she had no idea how to protect her. I don't know, sweetie. Just trust me, she managed to say, lips trembling as she half-sobbed, half-breathed ahead. The glimmer vanished completely, leaving them cloaked in an unsettling darkness. The air felt colder, thicker, as if the shadows were breathing around them. Jamie's heart raced, vulnerable and exposed. Behind them, she heard it again, the footsteps, lower and heavier than before, creeping up like a predator closing in for the kill. Anxiety wrapped tightly around her ribs, squeezing as Jamie glanced over her shoulder. "Mommy, I can't see," Ella whimpered, panic rising in her small voice. "I know, baby. Just stay right by me." Then, the ground beneath them shuddered, and a sharp crack echoed through the hallway, followed by a blinding flash of light that hailed from down a side passage. "What was that?" Ella cried, instinctively clutching Jamie's hand harder. "I don't know," Jamie gasped. But a sense of urgency gripped her. Perhaps the light could lead them to safety, or at least reveal something that could help them make sense of this nightmare. But as they turned toward the brightness, an ominous silhouette appeared at the far end of the passageway. The nightmarish shape loomed larger, blocking their path. Would they confront whatever this thing was, or retreat back into the darkness that offered no safety? Time seemed to freeze, heartbeats drumming in tandem as they faced the unknown. What lay ahead could either save them or seal their fates forever. And in that moment, with choices swirling in the air, Jamie realized one haunting truth: they were no longer just running for survival but barreling toward the very heart of a dangerous mystery that could change everything. What waited in that light might just hold the secret that would either bind them together or tear them apart completely. Could she prepare herself for the unraveling of reality? The shadow moved, stretching across the corridor, engulfing Jamie and Ella in its menacing form. Jamie's breath hitched, and for a moment, the world narrowed down to that looming shape. Fear clawed at her throat, but she forced herself to take a step forward, dragging Ella along with her. "Stay behind me," she whispered, her voice barely above a trembling murmur. The silhouette shifted, and Jamie could make out a face, twisted in mockery. "You think you can navigate this world with that flimsy resolve?" it hissed, the voice sending shivers down Jamie's spine. Mommy Ella clutched her hand tighter, trembling against the impending dread. Jamie felt a surge of determination. She wasn't about to let fear consume them. "I know we can get through this," Jamie said firmly, even as doubt brewed in her heart. "We just have to keep moving." The silhouette took a step forward, and with that simple movement, it felt like the air thickened, like they were being pulled into a gravitational force, tethering their fate to its whims. Jamie turned to Ella. "On the count of 3, we run, okay?" Ella nodded, her eyes wide but trusting. 1, 2, 3. Jamie launched herself forward, dragging Ella along. They bolted past the shadow, but as they passed, an icy hand reached out, grazing Jamie's shoulder. It sent an electric shock through her body. She stumbled but pressed onward, adrenaline pushing her faster. Behind them, the shadow screeched, a sound that pierced through the oppressive darkness, ringing in Jamie's ears. She dared to look back, just for a moment, and saw the thing writhing in fury, a swirling mass of darkness with burning eyes that glared at them, filled with an insatiable hunger. "Run!" Jamie urged, their feet pounding against the concrete floor, echoing like thunder in the endless corridor. They wound through twists and turns, the shadows closing in like a living entity, trying to swallow them whole. "Mommy, where are we going?" Ella gasped, sweat glistening on her forehead. "I don't know, baby. Just keep moving." Their surroundings shifted. At the end of one corridor, they stumbled into a dimly lit room that smelled of old books and dust. Stacks of forgotten tomes towered around them, casting strange shapes in the flickering light. A heavy silence settled, contrasting sharply with the chaos they had escaped. As Jamie caught her breath, panic thrumming in her veins, she scanned the room. "What is this place?" she whispered, but her question hung in the air unanswered. Suddenly, a voice echoed from the shadows. "You're curious. That's good. Curiosity leads to discovery." Jamie's heart raced. "Who's there?" Her voice trembled with both fear and outrage. A figure stepped into the light, an older man with wild hair and eyes that seemed to twinkle with mischief. "You've stumbled upon the Library of Secrets. Here, knowledge is abundant, but be warned, some truths are better left untouched," he said with a cryptic smile. Ella edged closer, still clutching Jamie's hand. "Mommy, can we trust him?" Jamie felt the weight of her daughter's question. Just moments ago, they had faced terror, and now they stood before a stranger who spoke in riddles. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, but a glimmer of hope sparked within her. Could this mysterious library contain the answers they desperately needed? "What do you know about Max?" Jamie asked, her tone steadying as she faced the stranger. The man's smile faded, replaced by a serious look. "Max? He is an agent of chaos, a puppet master of shadows. If you want your daughter back, you must be willing to learn." "Learn what?" Jamie's mind raced. What else was this journey going to demand of her? "Everything," he replied, pointing deeper into the library. "But are you prepared to face the consequences?" Jamie's heart thundered in her chest. This was not just about survival anymore. "Mommy, I want to go home," Ella whimpered. Jamie knelt beside her, their foreheads almost touching. "I know, sweetie. But we have to find out what he knows. We might find a way to stop Max." As they stood, Jamie felt the weight of the decisions. A head bearing down on her. Was she ready to confront whatever truths awaited them in the shadows of this library? And with that, they steeled themselves for the daunting exploration, stepping forward into the unknown, knowing that some doors, once opened, can never be closed again. What lay ahead could change everything. Would they uncover a way out, or would they unleash something they'd never be able to control? Jamie's heart raced, knowing they were still very much in danger. The library seemed to breathe around them, the thick air wrapping around Jamie and Ella as they ventured deeper into its shadows. The scent of aged paper mixed with something metallic, making Jamie's stomach churn. She could feel the weight of countless eyes upon them, as if the books themselves were watching. The man gestured for them to follow. "Not all the knowledge here is safe. You'll encounter things that will challenge your current notions of reality," he warned, his gaze piercing. "Like what?" Jamie asked, the question hanging heavy in the air. The man grinned, a wild glimmer in his eye. "Like the truth about the shadows you fled from, or the secrets your daughter hides." Jamie's heart lurched. Ella doesn't hide secrets. She's just a little girl. "That's what you think," the man replied cryptically. "But every soul has a shadow, Jamie. You must confront it to find your way out." Ella's grip tightened around Jamie's hand. "Mommy, I want to go home," she cried, despair punctuating every word. "We're going to find a way, sweetheart." "I promise," Jamie said, forcing a smile despite the dread gnawing at her insides. They moved further in, the ambient light waning until the room around them transformed into a kaleidoscope of dark corners and shelves that seemed to multiply, twisting into infinity. As they navigated through, voices began to whisper, tantalizing her ears with fragmented sentences. "Seek what is lost, only the brave disregard the heart, and peril will follow." Jamie looked down at Ella, whose face was pale, eyes wide with fear. "Do you hear that?" Jamie whispered, hoping to shield her from the horror looming in the depths of the library. "Mommy, it's scary." Ella shivered, tears forming in her eyes. They found a large, ornate book sitting alone on a pedestal, illuminated by an unseen source. Its leather cover was cracked, embellishments glinting like faded gold. Jamie felt an irresistible pull towards it, like it was calling her name. "Don't touch it," the man warned suddenly, his voice charged with urgency. "That book holds the key to your past, but be warned, it comes with a cost." "What do you mean?" Jamie asked while Ella pressed closer, her small frame shaking against Jamie's side. "Every answer you seek may bring tenfold chaos. Are you ready to pay the price for your daughter's safety?" A chill crawled along Jamie's spine. Did she dare open the book? Did they risk plunging into something worse than what they had just fled? Ella's frightened gaze met hers, and Jamie felt a rush of determination breaking through all her fear. "Whatever it takes," Jamie said defiantly. "I will save her." As she reached for the book, a thunderous echo filled the library, shaking the ground. The lights flickered, and shadows exploded from the corners, swirling like a storm around them. Whispers turned into screams that clawed at Jamie's mind, each word spiraling her deeper into the chaos. "Stay close," Jamie shouted, pulling Ella against her as the shadows pressed inward, attempting to cocoon them in terror. Suddenly, the old man's voice broke through, sharp and clear. "You must choose quickly. Either embrace the answers or face the shadows." Jamie's breath quickened. Could they really uncover the truth without losing everything? Just then, the shadows lunged, seeking to drag them back into the dark abyss. Time fractured around them, the stakes soaring higher as Jamie hesitated, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm that echoed in her ears. "Mommy!" Ella screamed, her voice cutting through the chaos, piercing Jamie's resolve like a dagger, and in that electric moment, faced with an unimaginable choice, Jamie felt the world tilt dangerously. What was the right answer? What was the cost? As Jamie's fingers brushed the open book's pages, a blinding light flared from its depths. In that instant, everything shifted, and as she gasped, the shadows halted, swirling in confusion, waiting for her next move. Could she tame the darkness, or would it consume them both? With the answers almost tangible, Jamie's world spiraled into an unknown fate, each second crucial, each choice a matter of life and death. The light poured from the book, illuminating the dark corners of the library, momentarily pushing back the encroaching shadows. Jamie squinted, trying to comprehend the shifting forms that flickered just at the edges of her vision. The whispers morphed into a chorus, rising and falling, creating a symphony of chaos that rattled her bones. "Mommy, I don't like this." Ella's voice trembled, her grip tightening even more, a lifeline in the whirlwind. Jamie could see the fear in her daughter's eyes, and it steepened Jamie's resolve. "Stay right by me, Ella," she urged, her voice steady even as her heart raced. She tore her gaze from the book, the shimmering light beckoning to her, and scanned the dark expanse of the library. "Embrace the answers," the whispers urged, echoes bouncing off the walls like a taunt. "You can't escape your past or your daughter's shadows." She wavered, the dueling forces of fear and curiosity pulling her in different directions. What if the truth the man spoke of was too great to bear? What if it shattered everything she had built to protect Ella? But just then, a strange warmth seeped from the book into her fingers, sparking electricity in her veins. Jamie glanced back at the illuminated pages, words swirling like smoke. "Mommy!" Ella's frightened plea jolted her back. Jamie spun to find shadows creeping closer, dark tendrils reaching out like bony fingers, hungry and relentless. She could almost hear their sinister laughter, nipping at the edges of her sanity. "Time's running out," the old man shouted, his voice slicing through the chaos like a knife. "Choose now, or you'll be lost in there forever." With urgency dripping from his words, Jamie felt the weight of the moment pressing against her chest, but the unsettling truth was, she had already felt the taste of despair. She had seen the pain in Ella's eyes when her mother's resolve faltered. Whatever lay hidden in that book might be their only hope. "It's just words, Jamie," she murmured to herself. "Just words." Gathering her strength, Jamie stepped toward the book again, laying her fingers flat on its cool surface. In an instant, a jolt shot through her, like a lightning strike. The pages flipped frantically, settling on a passage, the ink shimmering as if alive. In that moment, the library transformed. The walls distorted, the air thickening into an almost tangible fog. Shadows twisted into specters of her past, her mistakes, her fears, all manifesting in grotesque forms that lurked at the edges of her vision. Jamie gasped, trying to push through the overwhelming sensation. "Mommy?" Ella whimpered, hardly able to keep her footing as the shadows threatened to close in. "This can't be who we are," Jamie shouted, her voice rising above the cacophony. "Whatever you are, you will not take us." The shadows screamed and writhed, a chaotic dance of darkness. Jamie's vision pulsed with light and turmoil, but she held her ground. Her heart screamed to protect her daughter, to shield her from whatever horror swirled in the shadows. With a fierce determination, she willed the light from the book to pour into her, defying the darkness. "We're not scared of you." The words rushed from her lips with fierce conviction. "I know what you want, but you won't have her." Suddenly, the shadows recoiled, throwing themselves against the walls with howls of fury. Jamie felt the tremor of their fear. This surge of defiance ignited courage she didn't know she had. "Mommy! The book, can we make it stop?" Ella cried, her voice cracking. "Yes. Yes, we can." Jamie could see it now, answers spilling from the pages, unraveling the shadows with each word she read aloud. But just as she began, a piercing scream reverberated through the library, freezing her in place. From the depths of the shadows, something larger emerged, an ominous figure cloaked in darkness, eyes glowing with malice. As the figure loomed over them, Jamie's heart raced in terror. What had they unleashed? What monster from her past had she stirred from its slumber? Jamie, the figure hissed, its voice like a distant echo. You have much to answer for. In that moment, frozen in fear, Jamie understood. This was no ordinary darkness, it was a fragment of her own soul, a reflection of choices left unmade. The truth was more horrifying than she had ever imagined. Could she confront this monstrous specter, or would it consume everything she loved? The answer felt just beyond reach, slipping into the dark as the figure drew closer, revealing the truth poised to shatter everything once more. The figure loomed closer, its presence heavy with an unbearable weight. Jamie's chest tightened, panic sparking within her. Ella pressed against her side, small trembles shaking her tiny body. Jamie could almost hear the gasp in her daughter's silent plea for salvation. Who or what are you? Jamie's words were hoarse. The figure didn't move, but a cold laugh slipped from its shadowed lips, wrapping around them like a shroud. Oh, Jamie, it hissed. I am every choice you didn't make, every opportunity you let slip away. I am fear incarnate. Jamie shuddered, eyes wide. Each word struck deep, like arrows piercing her heart. Was this how the darkness she'd avoided all her life had manifested? This was the weight she carried, a specter formed from regret and embarrassment. Stop it. I refuse to let you win. Jamie shouted, surprised by the strength in her own voice. Win. It echoed, laughter tinged with malice. You think this is a game? Your past is a prison, and your daughter, she is the key. Ella, feeling Jamie's tremors, looked up, confusion dancing in her eyes. Mommy? What does it mean? She whispered, her voice fragile, like glass at a tea. That moment, the weight of Jamie's choices crashed into her like a wave. She had spent so long trying to shield Ella from her tumultuous past, from the chaos that had once defined her life. Now, it felt like that same past was reaching out, threatening to engulf them both. Don't listen to it, Ella. Jamie urged, clenching her fists. We are stronger than this. But it's true. The figure pressed, creeping closer, its shadow stretching like a noose. You cannot protect her from you. The room twisted around them, the library warping as every shadow echoed Jamie's worst memories. She stood there, trapped between panic and the flickering light of hope that burst from the spine of the book. Embrace the light, Jamie, the old man's voice resonated through the chaos, pushing at the pit of her stomach like a burning fire. Your answers lie within you. You have the power to rewrite your story. Gripping the book tighter, Jamie fought back the tears pooling in her eyes. How could she rewrite her story? A breath caught in her throat as she realized the truth beneath her fear. Transformation wouldn't happen without embracing every piece of herself, every mistake she made. With newfound resolve, she called out, You are not my truth. You don't dictate my future. The figure halted, the shadows around it flickering wildly in response to her defiance. Jamie felt the intensity of the light pulsing from the book around her, and she shouted, Ella, hold my hand. Ella grasped her mother's palm, and together, they faced the figure. The warmth radiating from their bond began to push back against the darkness, a golden thread woven through the shadows trying to entrap them. You can't fight me. It shrieked, rage boiling over as shadows clawed at Jamie's resolve. I am not running from you anymore. Jamie cried, igniting every ounce of courage she had. We choose who we want to be. The words were a spark igniting a flame. Light exploded around them, blinding and pure. It surged, weaving through the darkness, cutting at the figure that had haunted her all this time. Each scream of anger from the figure became a whisper of liberation for Jamie. But just as the shadows started to wane, a powerful scream ripped through the air, unraveling the moment. It echoed over and over, melding with the frantic whispers of the library. Mommy! I can't see! Ella cried, panic creeping back into her voice. With the figure's form twisting in on itself, shifting and distorting, Jamie felt the ground tremble beneath them. She grabbed Ella, holding her tightly, desperately losing her footing. Stay with me! Jamie shouted, bracing against the chaos roiling around them. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the light began to flicker. Was this a moment of victory, or was something far worse about to be unleashed? As the shadows sank deeper, Jamie's breath hitched. Could they really escape this nightmare, or was it already too late? In that moment when the blinding light surged forward, Jamie felt a profound change ripple through her. Like the dawn breaking after an endless night, clarity washed over her, illuminating every dark corner of her soul. Shadows screamed and twisted, desperately grasping at the sacred light. They were pulling back, flickering like dying embers, and with each heartbeat from the book, the figures dissipated into nothingness. "Mommy!" Ella's small voice trembled, but Jamie felt warmth swell in her heart, a fierce protectiveness that anchored her. "I'm here, sweetheart. We are going to make it." With Ella's grip suffusing her with courage, Jamie turned to the shifting mass of shadows. "You are no longer welcome here," she shouted, desperately directing all her power into her voice. "You will not define us." The figure faltered, and Jamie could see the shadows writhe in confusion. The warmth surged from the book once more, pulsing violently against the darkness. The whispers transformed into a cacophony of despair, even the air grew thin, vibrating with a tension that made Jamie's chest tighten. Then, at that moment, the weight of her past began to shift. Rather than crumbling under the pressure, she fell into acceptance, into understanding. "I choose to acknowledge you, but you hold no power," she declared with newfound ferocity. The room shook in response, and as she shouted, something extraordinary happened. Every shadow that surrounded her began to morph, revealing bits of her memories, her mistakes flashing before her eyes like film strips. They weren't monstrous, they were pieces of her life, fragments woven into the tapestry of who she was. With every fragment, Jamie felt lighter. Those memories of regret no longer bound her, they had shaped her, but they wouldn't limit her future. "Every choice led me to this moment," she said, her voice climbing through the whirlwind. "Each mistake made me a better mother, and I won't let you diminish that." The dark figure screeched, losing shape as Jamie's light intensified. Power surged through her, conflating and binding Ella tightly against her. "We will not be afraid," she cried out again, stronger than before. With one last blast of energy, Jamie thrust the book forward, illuminating the room in an explosion of brilliant light. The figure screeched, recoiling, and with a final flash, it imploded into a burst of shadows, scattering into nothing. The echoes of rage transformed into silence, a stillness enveloping them. Ella gasped as the calm washed over them, feeling the aftershocks of the confrontation fade. Is it gone?" she asked, eyes wide and searching Jamie's face. "Yes, baby," Jamie breathed, embracing her daughter tightly. "It's gone." Relief surged through her, calming every tremor. In that silence, the old man approached them with a new gentleness. "You have faced the darkness and emerged stronger. The library's knowledge is now yours, but you must remember light and shadow coexist. You're destined to create a narrative filled with both." "I understand that now," Jamie nodded, clutching Ella as though she was solid earth beneath her feet. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," he warned, glancing at the TV gizmos flickering across the walls. "You must find your own way back, or the shadows may linger, seeking to reclaim their hold." "Lead the way," Jamie declared, determination anchoring her steps. They started to retrace their path through books and whispers, the library swirling around them as if acknowledging their triumph. Together, they moved forward, piecing together the memories of who they had been and inviting them to become part of their journey. Finally, as they stepped back toward the exit, a gentle breeze wafted through the scenes of the door. The sunlight beckoned them, a warm embrace waiting just outside. Jamie took a deep breath and squeezed Ella's hand tighter. "We made it," she said, emotion threading through her voice. "You and me together. Never again will I let fear guide us." As the door swung wide open, they stepped into a new light, untouched by shadows. Then, from behind them, the old man called out, "Your choices are yours alone, but remember strength comes when shadows dance close. Life is a blend, darkness can teach you resilience, but don't allow it to script your narrative." With their hearts intertwined, Jamie and Ella ventured into their new story, every step a promise to be brave and face whatever lay ahead. And as the door closed behind them, the library stood in contented shadows, silently waiting for the next lost souls yearning for the light. Now, before you head out, I need you to take action. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that are coming your way. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this epic finale. Your support matters, and I know, as true fans, you understand just how vital it is to keep the community alive and thriving.